What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at Fabian Cortez from the Nemesis wave. So let's see what we've got going on. Let's check it out. As promised, today we're taking a look at Fabian Cortez. So let's see what we've got going on. Taking a look at the package, we're continuing down the Nemesis Build-A-Figure wave, working our way through it, right? We've got Fabian Cortez here. He's got some power effects. He's got extra hands. No extra heads, though. You know how I feel about that. We do get that Build-A-Figure piece. X-Men logo there. Other logo at the top. Flip it to the side. Nice comic image of Fabian there. Flip it to the back. There's your expanded image. That's the wave. Important information there. Here's your blurb. Fabian Cortez, once a founder of the Acolytes, betrays Magneto and makes himself an enemy of both his former leader and the X-Men. Flip it to this side. Marvel Legends, Fabian Cortez, your image again. Let's get him out of the box. Fresh out of the box, I'm glad that we're getting some Acolytes here. Again, another team I'm going to be able to build out on the shelf, so certainly here for that. Like where that's going. As always, it'll trickle out. It may be a year before we see another Acolyte, but hey, we're working our way through. That's real quick. That's kind of what I like about these Build-A-Figure waves. You get a little bit of everything, a little bit of different teams, stuff you can work through. For a collector like me, it works out, right? Because I like building out all these different teams. I understand the counterpoint to that. Sometimes you got to buy stuff that you don't want to complete a Build-A-Figure that you do want. So there's certainly arguments on both sides, but I'm happy as a collector for these Build-A-Figure waves and what I'm able to build out in teams from them. Fabian Cortez looks cool, looks the part. I like the figure so far. Of course, we'll take a closer look. Would love to have some more accessories in there. Certainly like having the options of alternate heads, but we do get the expressive face here. As I've said before, that's the one I want if I'm only getting one. So glad that they went with an expression on this. Let's take a closer look. Moving in closer, we can get a good look at that face sculpt, and it's good. I like the expression that they went with here. It's got a good, like, angry, expressive brow you can see up in here. So I certainly appreciate that. Like the direction they went there. Aesthetically, it looks pretty good. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more on the plain side, right? So you'd love to see some shading in there just to add some dynamism to that. But for a character like this, it's kind of how they go with these, right? So plain on the plastic. Looks fine, though. I think aesthetically, it's going to fill that space on the shelf and serve a purpose in that regard. Cape is very stiff. So for those of you who hate the plastic capes, you are going to probably hate that more than most. Just throwing that out there. I think for me, on the plastic cape, I would kind of prefer it to be a little bit more curved in to kind of give you that sort of aspect on the cape. Of course, you can argue that soft goods would ease that pain for you, right? But we have plastic capes, so that's how it's going. So, not a big deal for me. I've said before, like I personally don't mind the plastic capes. It's a toy. It's an action figure at the end of the day. So the overall aesthetic of the line goes to these plastic capes. So no harm, no foul for me. For your hands, you do get a set of fists, and then you get a selection of open hands. So you have the one that's a little bit more open and the grasping hand. For your effect pieces, you do get these fireballs we've seen many times over, but they are in a nice fiery translucent plastic. So cool, whether you use them for Fabian or not, they will certainly have a place in your display. The shoulder pads and cape are a separate piece. The cape is attached to the straps on the shoulder pads here. So the cape is not keyed into the figure, although it does peg in right there in the middle of the back. For your articulation, the head will look down to there, chin touching the chest. Head goes up and back to about there. The ponytail does stop you from going back any further. I thought the ponytail would have its own point of articulation, but it moves a little bit but if you move it too much, you start to see the plastic stressing right there. So certainly want to be mindful of that. It feels a little weak back here, so over time, I mean, you could certainly risk ripping that right off. Arms go up and around. You do get a little bit of resistance from the shoulder pad there. Modified butterfly in the shoulder, upper bicep cut, double jointed, pinless at the elbow. Nothing at the forearm, and then hinge at the wrist. Ab crunch, hip swivel, legs kick up to there, back to about there, up and out to there. Upper thigh cut, double jointed, pinless at the knee. Boot cut, you just need to kind of heat that up a little bit to get the movement going, but there is a boot cut down there, and then hinge and swivel at the ankle. For comparison, here he is backed up against Magneto. Fabian Cortez coming in a little bit taller than Magneto there, so you can get that height difference. You'll see that. Obviously, Fabian's on a more updated body compared to this Family Values Magneto, but that Magneto was kind of in the same range as your X-Men 97 or any of your other Magnetos. So you'll notice that Fabian's going to be a little bit taller there. All right, folks, well, there you have it. There is your Marvel Legends Fabian Cortez from the Nemesis Build-A-Figure wave. This one's not going to be for everybody. I totally understand that, but I am certainly the target audience for this figure. It's going to go into my X-Men Villains display. I am looking forward to building out the Acolytes. So there's a lot to look forward for me with this figure and the possibilities in the future for Acolytes, right? So certainly looking forward to that, as I said. Now, could this have used some additional things? Of course, you can always dig into these and say what it could use. Hands, I'm good on hands. Always extra heads, but we did get the expressive face on this one, so I will take that as a minor win. I always want the extra heads, but I always want the expressive one if I'm only getting one, so there we are with that. Very hard cape. Some of you aren't going to like that. I'm okay with it. It works for me. Could have used a little more detail in the paint. It does come off a little bit bland in the red areas. I do feel like some shading or paint, something just to give some more depth would have looked really nice on this figure. Plastic isn't gummy, so I do like that, but you do need to heat this up. When I was trying to bend the knee, I popped the leg off at the calf, so make sure you heat this one up. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty standard fare, so if you're looking forward to it, I think you'll like it. If you're on the fence about it, maybe you wait on this one. I don't know. Again, it's always to each your own, collect how you want to collect. Folks, that's the 2 cents. I appreciate you checking out the video, watching this long if you have. Of course, you can always find me on any of these socials down here. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe below. Hit that join button while you're at it. And until next time, take it easy.